listening to the Millennial's Choice Show, Canada's most trusted podcast on all things real estate, finance, and entrepreneurship. Here's your host, Matthew Ablacan.
So that went really, really well with Anthony.
That was great. That was really, really funny. There's so much different things we were talking about. And I was going to ask you, was there anything that kind of surprised you? When we were talking?
I mean, at the end of the day, there's every one of these interviews for me. Like sometimes I'm a fan. Like I don't really take in. I'm a host of it. I'm interested to see what they're gonna say. So it's so different. Like the ones we've done with Francis, with Elite. Everyone is so different.
It's so interesting how they're different, right? But they're kind of a part of that same lifestyle. But it's crazy when you're talking to them, asking them questions. They kind of, they're different people, right? So some of them look at something differently than the others. And you're kind of like, okay, wow. Like I never expected that, based off of, maybe other people. But it kind of makes sense, right? Because everybody's different. Everybody has their own opinions and, viewpoints, right?
Yeah, like I understand why. He was saying like for, these certain crimes, certain things that are happening, they're not, he wasn't trying to say that they're not illegal. What he's saying is that they don't harm necessarily another individual.
Yeah.
Whereas it's kind of you're defrauding the government or whatever.
Which I get.
Like I understand what he's saying.
Yeah, like it makes sense in a way. If you really realistically, like he was saying, if you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and the risk is you go to jail for like 6 months, I could really understand why that's like really enticing for people, right? To go and you're not hurting people. Like he was saying, he was selling stuff. I personally don't necessarily agree with it. I do understand it because I feel like that is a slippery slope saying, well, it's okay if I get caught because there's not that much bad consequences for it. And, the government, for example, legalized marijuana, right? Like it's kind of like just because the government does it, now it's okay. That doesn't really make sense, which I agree with. Just like gambling, right? We were talking about that not too long ago.
Oh, buddy, it's funny, like at the time of this recording, it'll be a couple of weeks since we recorded it when it drops. But like I was wearing these pants to the Toronto Raptors game yesterday. They gave us a scratch ticket on the way out.
No.
Sarah has one too. We went together.
Are you serious?
They were promoting it all over obviously the game and stuff. And I didn't even remember that it was in my pocket.
That's so weird. I'm not anything against scratch tickets. I've played a lot of scratch tickets in my life.
But you're promoting like what some people are addicted to, and it's destroyed families.
So they're just giving it out.
Oh, it's at the
like
at the exit sometimes they give out candy or gum.
It was Juicy Fruit. I remember like a lot.
So Juicy Fruit's not the sponsor right now.
Yeah.
When they do the sponsor at the top of the net, the baseboard,
it's like Wrigley's or whatever. Yeah,
it's not that anymore. It's I think it was like OLG or something.
That's
I think
so
it was
weird. I can't believe they're pushing that right now.
Yeah. So I mean, the point is like they're throwing it in your face. There's people who are addicted to gambling, as an example. We'll use that one, and it's broken families. People have gone into financial hardships. And yeah, obviously those people made that decision, but it's an addiction like anything else. If anyone's ever been addicted to something, you could relate. And you know what that person went through. But the point is, it's had negative consequences on their families and on their financial well-being and things like that. And sometimes that leads to further issues for that person. So the fact that you're throwing it, you're promoting it now that it's legal all like everywhere, and you're giving out free scratch tickets to anybody. They weren't IDing anybody. They're just like boom, 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 boom. I could have taken more than one if I wanted. It's like, is that right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Why do people think that's right just because the government says it's right? And I think that's going back to what Anthony was saying. Pretty much, if you're doing something like that, it's a hustle, right? You're working, you're making money. Okay, you got to see it as the government is also trying to make money too, right? And all I think he was saying was, do what you got to do to make your money. From his perspective, it was, I think, try not to go on the violent side because obviously he's seen that and done that. And, there's probably, like he was saying, there's way worse consequences. Like you'll go to jail for life, right? And for him, he was just kind of saying like doing things like sports betting, loan sharking, loaning out money for people to use for whatever. Those kind of things without the violence. He's like, what's wrong with that? And it kind of makes sense.
Well,
right?
that's private lending.
That's what private lending is.
That's what private lending is here. So there's private lending, guys, where, it's been in the case that this is wrong. I think this is wrong, where a mortgage broker and a realtor working together, puts a family like a new to Canada family into a private mortgage because the mortgage that the mortgage agent and the realtor promised them didn't come through. So now last minute, because the people are going to lose everything, go into a private mortgage. And guess what? The lawyer is in on it. The private lender is in on it. The mortgage agent's in on it. And the real estate agent, they're all in on it. So, and what do? They put them in a private mortgage last minute. These people are scared to lose the home they've purchased and their deposit and their down payment, all these things. And so what does the mortgage professional do? They charge them like a ridiculous amount. Even the lender, the private lender, a ridiculous amount. We've heard people charge $100,000 commission on a $500,000 to $1 million private mortgage deal. Guys, that's the scam.
Fraud. That's bad.
Fraud.
That's
you know what I mean?
Equally as bad as like loan sharking and stuff like that. That's worse, if anything. Because
so where the problem with loan sharking for me comes in is the problem. It's not about loan sharking. It's about the interest, because there is a point where the interest, and not to go too far into this or too extreme, but this was also a reason why Germany was suffering in the 30s, in 1930s, because the interest was so high. One of the laws that Hitler passed, first laws, he banned interest. When he came to power, two laws he put into place. First, banned interest, and banned like brothels and like underground clubs and things like that to help with people's morale. So he banned interest. So point of being, in loan sharking, interest is just sometimes so high that person can kind of never get out of it almost.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a problem with loan sharking. I think the problem with all due respect, with loan sharking, I think the problem comes with when you can't pay the guy back, they break your knees.
Yeah, but why can't you pay them back? Usually
because the interest is high. You're right. But I feel like the interest part is not really a problem, because, dude, look at these big box retailers offering certain plans on your couch, on your furniture sets. And guess what, dude? The interest on those like couches or TVs and whatever is like 40% interest if you can't pay it back on time.
Yeah, but I think that's wrong.
That's wrong. Yeah, but that's so wrong. That's legal though. They still do it.
Well, we're not talking about legal. Yeah. Well, we're talking about it's wrong. So like even
morally,
these guys,
I guess.
Yeah, like even these guys on the street, that's what a private lender is. A private lender is an individual, could be an individual, could be an institution, but it's an individual who will lend money. We're talking in the space of real estate. Yep. They'll lend money on the property as long as there's enough equity, there's enough skin in the game for that lender, so that if you don't pay them back, they can take your home, sell it, and get their money back, right? So that's private lending. That's how that works here in Ontario and Canada. It's simple. So there's nothing stopping a street guy from doing something like that.
For sure.
But doing it legitimately, and rather than going the route of I'm going to break their legs if they don't pay me back. Yeah. No, you take their house, right? Yeah. And that's what a AAA bank will do if you don't pay them back. Yeah. That's what a B lender will do if you don't pay them back. That's what any lender will do. Even if you own a condominium, your condo corporation could do that. If you don't pay the maintenance fees, they could initiate power of sale and take the property from you just to get your maintenance fees that you haven't paid. Yeah. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I know we went down that path,
but one thing I was honestly like very like surprised to hear when I was asking, because I've honestly seen a lot of TikToks of people that have been in jail and they talk about their experience there.
Here we go again. This guy in TikTok.
And no, seriously, I just want to point out, like, I was kind of surprised when I asked him about, like, what was the worst thing that you experienced in jail? And his response was complete opposite of what I was expecting, where he's like, oh, I loved it. And, he was talking about how, like, at that time, like, he would be able to get, the food he wanted. He was working out, obviously, in your time there. Like, what else?
He looked pretty swole, not gonna lie.
Getting swole. He was reading books. He's talking about reading personal development books, self-help books, things like that. And he was just like, I loved it because I used my time there wisely, right? He built connections. He networked. That's kind of crazy if you really think about it, in terms of he risked going to jail by doing those things to make money. And then when he went to jail, it kind of wasn't that bad by the sound of it.
So he was talking about the first time he went to jail in his 20s for the 1 year. When
he was young. Yeah.
He didn't talk about the 8.5 year sentence.
No. This was when he was younger. Yeah.
In all fairness,
just to be specific to that. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
One thing that I was like, whoa, like literally it changed the whole tone of the conversation for me was was the real estate conversation.
That was
When
hilarious.
he mentioned the real estate, I'm like, damn, like my radar went off, and I'm like, yeah, see, like there's a way for you to make, and he kept it real.
Yeah.
He's like, it wasn't quick enough for me, plain and simple. And that's what something we always say, where we say it's a long-term game.
Yeah. That was too funny.
You know, Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett said, nobody wants to get rich slow.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, you're in that life, and he looked at it, you know, it's a misdemeanor if I sell less than 50 pounds of marijuana at a time. It's a misdemeanor. He's like, at the very most worst case scenario, it's 6 months in prison, but I'm earning whatever he was earning per week, 50,000 a week, whatever he's earning. Yeah, I could understand why someone would want to do that.
For sure. He made 400 grand in one day, he said.
That's 487,000.
Dude, that's crazy. Like,
like
and like the risk is not that risky. Like he's saying, like if you're gonna go to jail for 1 year, 2 years, it's not that bad if you're clearing out that kind of money. So I totally like gained a different perspective of that, you know, and not necessarily agree with it, but I get where he's coming from. I get why someone would do that. It kind of makes sense. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And again, it was just, we want to get these guys on. We're growing our business. We're growing the channel. But it's not to glorify anything they did. He wasn't glorifying anything he did. I didn't get that vibe from him. He kept it real. I don't regret doing this. It was part of the job.
Exactly.
He didn't regret it. Some people regret it. Some people don't. But it's just the way it is. But he did regret, like,
I was just gonna say he was keeping it real, because he's like, looking back now, I wouldn't go and join the mob, like the organized mob. Like he would, because he was saying, he's like, it was just violence. Right?
He wouldn't have become a made guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And that speaks volumes, right? He was saying, I'd rather go do my own thing and continue making my money and not having to go and be violent. Right. So
He kept it real.
Yeah.
He kept it real with Andrew Tate. He kept it real with Sammy the Bull. He kept it real with Francis. He said it. I never ran into those guys. I never knew them. But this is what I knew of them. He kept it 100, and that's all we care about.
Yeah, that'd be great once in the future if we get them all together, see kind of how they interact with one another, because they obviously do have different schools of thought, I think, and it would be interesting to see that.
I think we're gonna do it soon.
Yeah,
soon. It was good, but I mean, I'm excited for the next ones we have lined up.
Can't wait, man.
Yeah,
I'm pumped.